on? Okay, so just flip this back off except for the sound?
You just killed now nobody's on.
Well, we can do
What
it.
do
We
I
can
do?
do whatever we want tonight.
Turn it back off except for the sound?
Be ourselves.
Okay. Hold on.
Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Tuesday for February 4th edition of the regular city council meeting for the city of Sebring. With that, we will ask the mayor to lead us in invocation and the pledge of allegiance, please.
Please bow with me. Lord, thanks once again for a wonderful day. Thank you for the city that we live in. We appreciate all that you've given us. We ask that you watch over our residents, our staff, our first responders, and all. We ask that you watch over the city council and move them to make sound and right decisions. We do all we do in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate that. So we can get this officially underway. Kathy, would you call the roll?
Mayor Shu,
here.
Carlisle,
Here.
Ivy,
Here.
Lawrence,
Here.
Stewart,
Here.
Detman.
Here. If there's anyone out here that has any businesses you'd like to bring before council this evening, and it is not on the agenda, if you'll please come up and see Clerk Haley. She'll give you a little piece of paper to fill out, and then we'll entertain your concerns a little bit later in the meeting. Mayor's report.
Just a couple things. The Sun Trust dedication went very well.
It sure did.
I think we had probably 250, 300 people, so it was a very, very nice event to give kudos to Sun Trust, Truist, that's what they're called now. They merged with BB&T, so they're called Truist, but they had their head dude from Charlotte come down, the guy that is taking over the whole company is with BB&T, and so they really they put an effort into this thing, and they're really concerned about the community and their teammates, as they call them. But it was a beautiful event. The only thing that I found out that we lack here that they have is that these guys came down in armored vehicles and had ex-CIA agents as bodyguards. So I think the mayor ought to at least have one vehicle.
You actually had one there and didn't realize it.
Oh, son of a
Yes,
gun.
sir.
So, okay.
Oh my God.
He was undercover.
Anything else?
But it was good. That's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Council members,
Yes, I
concerns,
was.
comments, and liaison reports. You start on my left. Mr. Lawrence?
Nothing.
Mr. Stewart?
No, sir.
My goodness. Mr. Carlisle?
Again, I agree with the mayor. That was awesome.
It sure was.
It was,
It sure
and
was.
I'm proud that they done that for those young ladies.
I think it
and the
was-
families.
Made our entire community proud and
Yes.
and respectful.
I was truly amazed at the amount of people there. Really was.
Yeah.
It was good.
Yeah. Mr. Ivy?
Yes, I'd like to congratulate Chief Hoagland, reference his recent graduation from the Florida Department
Academy?
of Law Enforcement's
Oh.
Chief Executive
Oh, okay.
Seminar. I just saw it. That's like the FDLE deal.
Congratulations.
And I'd like to, that's good. We keep learning new things, new trends are happening, and it's good to keep abreast.
Great.
Yeah.
Did you go to the CES yourself, Kurt?
They didn't have it then.
They didn't have that back then. Carl, what was your session?
54.
54? Wow, mine was 12. That's the way it goes sometimes. See, there is life after law enforcement. Anyhow, the only thing I wanted to mention is, because it's not highly publicized, and I've actually had numerous people come up to me this week and saying, well, why are you guys running for election? I said, well, because we're running to occupy our seats. And they said, well, when is the election? So there's not a lot of coverage on that, but the upcoming election for 3 seats on the city council is March 10th. I know we're not out on the TV world tonight, it's just you folks in here, but if you'll pass that along, all of the votes would be appreciated. There are 3 of us that are up here that are running for our own seats, and there's a 4th gentleman who would like to, is a newcomer, would like to try his hand at it. So I hope everybody gets out and votes.
An ad did go in the paper. I mean, people may not have seen it, but there was a pretty big ad in the paper on that, so.
And there was an article about it
Yes, sir, and there
2
was
weeks
an
ago, I
article
wanna say.
on there too, so.
But it was a small article, and
The
there's,
paper did, yeah.
there's some roundtable discussion this morning at Jimmy's Creek American Grill, and
There
one
you
of them
go.
comes over, the delegate, and he goes, well, why are you running? And I
Mm.
said, well, because my seat's up and I have to run. Well, you don't have to run, do you? I said, well, if I wanna be reelected, yeah. But they didn't understand that there was a
Right.
fourth party out there. They thought if the three of us were running for our own seats, you didn't
Sure,
have
I
to do
forgot.
anything.
Right.
But, we do, and there's a fourth person, so we have to do our diligence.
And in that regard, we should congratulate the mayor and Kathy because no one has
Right.
gone against them. So
Didn't have to run, they were unopposed.
Re-elected by acclamation.
I feel very, I feel very
Congratulations.
blessed, and I'm very
Betcha.
appreciative of my job.
They're
Thank you.
scared of
Yeah, me too.
Kathy.
And we're gonna.
They are scared of me,
I rode on
so
her
everyone should be
coattails.
scared of me.
Maybe we could make a motion to double the mayor's salary from $1 to $2.
Would you like to double mine?
No.
I just thought I'd
So
throw
we don't
that
have
in.
a lot of agenda
We can make it
folks.
$2 though.
It was a
While
good
they're over
try.
at the county worrying about the
Sanctuary.
gun laws and the Second Amendment, we'll take care of our business here. Folks, we have 4 items on our consent agenda. If you'll take a look at those, otherwise, if you have no comments or questions, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion, we accept the consent agenda as proposed.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Anybody from the audience want to address any of these 4 issues? Kathy, call the roll.
Carlisle,
Yes.
Ivy,
Yes.
Lawrence.
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
Detman.
Yes. I see no old business here. Item 10, new business, a 12-hour fan fest. Miss Christy Velasquez, please come on up here.
Good evening, Council. Christy Vasquez, CRA Executive Director for the record. In your packets tonight, you have information on the 3rd annual 12-hour Fan Fest. That'll be taking place on Tuesday, March 17th in downtown Sebring. It is our Bode to the Raceway with our festival downtown. We're excited that we're on our 3rd year. It's hard to believe that it's already been 3 years. But last year we had a huge turnout, and each subsequent year we've seen better integration from both the fans and from IMSA and the drivers and cars that we're able to have there. So we see that growing each year. So the event this year will be from 5:30 to 8. We have Raisin Kane will be our performer, and we'll feature the Transporter Parade like we have in the past 2 years. The goal is for that to make its way downtown as close to 6 o'clock as possible to where we have as big of a viewing crowd as possible. We'll have our race cars on display like we've had in the past. We did the Pinewood Derby to integrate a kids element to it and to incorporate the county and the 4-H extension office through the University of Florida last year. It was a huge success. The weather was a little bit of a damper on it because it started to rain towards the end of the event, but the kids loved it. The drivers who were a part of it loved it as well. So we're bringing back that again this year, and then we try to grow the event each year in interactive activities. That way it's something as an additional draw to help with our crowd each year. So we're also looking at this year adding a kids power wheel race. Sebring International Raceway has been doing it for a couple of times now at their drag racing. So kids are able to bring their Power Wheels cars, and then we'll set up a little course for them just as an added incentive and to also help us to draw young families to downtown, which is another mission for the CRA. We did confirm that we have the number 19 in the GT Daytona class. It's a Lamborghini. It's a all-female racing team. They're going to sponsor a coloring contest for us, and we're trying to work to be able to have all 4 of the girl drivers there to integrate with the crowd and to also have their Lamborghini on display as well. So if all of the flight times and everything work out well, that'll be an added incentive that I think the kids are really going to like this year. That is it for me. We are obviously asking for a waiver of fees to be able to help with us to put the event on, so we appreciate your support up to this point, and I'm happy to answer any questions on the event.
It's a pretty neat event.
Yeah, sounds
A
great.
lot of people.
It's by far my favorite one of the year, and to be able to see it grow each year and the community really come out and support it and enjoy it, it's, it does your heart good since,
We got
the
a lot of
races are what
community,
we're known
but we
for.
have also have a lot of people from the track. I mean, from all over the world. I've talked to people from all corners of the world out there, and it's really, it's a cool event. So
It is a cool event.
I think this year they have Princess Cruise Lines doing something.
Princess Cruise Lines, we are working with them. They're a new track sponsor, and they have a golf cart that will be wrapped in their celebrity brand. So we're trying to integrate that into the parade as well. potentially have a dignitary sitting shotgun, kind of looks like the mayor.
That should be just one heck of a draw.
It really, I
Probably have to close down 27.
mean, we want to go big or go home, so we knew that was the way to do it.
Take the bypass.
Well, I hope the golf cart is pink. He has to ride in it. I have a question.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
about the only one that lives in the city out of this bunch, so you better watch
I
yourself.
live in the city. We all do. For this event, is it only 12-hour race cars, or are you open for other?
For right now, we have left it to the 12-hour cars simply because of the partnership with IMSA and with the track, and because we have a limited amount of space to be able to utilize. We have worked in the past 2 years with Six Sideways Racing, and their cars have been on display on the circle. So they've committed to do that again as well. So we'll have hopefully 2 to 3 additional cars on the circle itself to be able to add to the race cars.
Okay, the reason I ask, you know, I race, and I have a car
Okay.
that's painted by the Kids Racing for Life. It's
Oh, awesome.
Cancer
Okay.
kids.
It's cancer, kids
Mhm.
are possibly dying from cancer. It's a very neat conversation piece, so that's the reason I asked.
Well, I appreciate that. I will take a look at our event and talk to the other girls from the track and IMSA and see if we can incorporate that into our footprint too.
Okay, because they do the event at the track every
That
year.
was Zoller Ministries?
Zoller Ministries is who does it, and every year they paint another car.
Okay.
Kind of neat. Our car's number 77, and we were the 7th car they painted.
Oh, very cool.
It's kind of neat, but I tell you, every track we go to, people come and say, "What's this? What's this? Why is it?" And when you get around the car, you know, you read what the kids wrote on it and stuff. It's pretty neat. It's a good conversation piece.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for suggesting that, and I will definitely try and fit that into our logistics.
Okay.
The more race cars we can have, the better, because
Well,
that's what everybody likes to be able to see.
Okay. It's not a pretty car, but it's a conversation piece.
Is that the one that keeps breaking down?
No, that's the one that was parked on top of the tires in turn 1 just last month.
Oops.
Yeah.
You better not get
Well,
on
Ms.
further.
Vasquez, speaking for myself, and I think I can speak for the other council members, we really appreciate the hard work you put into
Thank
promoting
you.
our city.
Thank you.
We
I
appreciate it very much.
I enjoy it very much.
That's right.
I make a motion we approve the event as presented, including waiver of fees. And it says that the event sponsor will provide us
Yes, sir, we will.
liability insurance.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion, and we second. Does anybody from the audience like to chime in on that? Sure, come forward, please. Just not your name and where you're from, please.
Mark Wilson, Sebring, Florida.
Oh, you are the 4th candidate.
Yes, sir.
Well, welcome to the city council meeting, Mr. Wilson.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Is the event getting large enough to separate it and move in separate parts of the city?
I can't hear you
I
up here.
can't, what he's saying.
I was asking her if the event is getting large enough so we can move it to different locations throughout the city, like Fireman's Field, maybe the high
You
school
want me to answer
area.
that?
You're more than welcome to.
Well, let me do this, Mr. Wilson. The whole idea between the CRA is to bring business downtown.
Right.
And the downtown core, especially with this here type of Fan Fest thing, this would obviously be the very, very best location. The CRA
Yeah, that would be
is-
the central location, but I'm saying
Yeah.
if it grows, as it grows,
Yeah,
they can be moving it.
that would be their call, but they do have to stay within the CRA district, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Ms. Vasquez.
I have, Christie, before you leave, I just have one question in regards to it. It's a waiver of fees, but do you have any idea how much the fees are?
I do
Going to be?
not.
Okay.
That's normally provided in the packet. I don't know, I don't have a recollection of those. They weren't provided to me.
Yeah, okay.
I can probably give you an idea.
Maybe from last year? Could you- you happen to know?
270, I got 270 for police department.
It's not that.
Just wanted to kind of get an idea of what we're waiving.
That's the only one I'm showing right off.
I would say primarily it's the police department that, for traffic control, and that's pretty much it.
It appears.
Okay.
What did
Alright.
you say, Scott? I can't hear
It
you.
appears, that's
It
true.
appears what?
That it would only be the police department around 270.
Public Works would have,
They're
Fire
definitely,
department
definitely.
and the
Public
fire
Works is
department as
involved.
well, I'm sure.
288.
270, 288.
So, $600.
Bobby, you have a,
Yeah, it's under 1,000.
oh, so you were on duty staff, okay.
So
So about $600?
Yep. Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anybody else? Kathy, call the roll.
Carlisle.
yes.
Ivy.
Yes.
Lawrence.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
Detman.
Yes. Item 10B, March 17, 2020, City Council meeting. Mr. Natlick, please.
Council, good evening. In order to avoid conflict with the 12-hour Found Fest that you just approved, staff is suggesting that you move your March 17th meeting to a time earlier in the day. We've provided 4 times. Have you all had the opportunity to take a look, see what your schedule looks like?
With the road closures beginning at 5:15, we certainly want to be
Yeah,
clear by that.
we would advocate earlier in the day. from a
What's
staff
your pleasure,
perspective.
gentlemen?
I'm open for any of it, really.
Myself, too.
I'm open.
Kurt?
I'm open.
Mayor's good? Leonard?
I have a doctor's appointment in the VA at 1.
And
So
you're
I
not gonna
wouldn't-
be in town.
You're not gonna make
So
it
you're gonna-
regardless.
You're
I
gonna miss
wouldn't
that.
be at any of them.
You're gonna miss that meeting.
I think maybe the 3 o'clock, I'll just make the suggestion so that we might just stay for the Fan Fest.
Everybody good with 3 o'clock? We require a motion on that because we're changing
Right.
the actual
Yes.
time of the city council. Let's entertain a motion for the 3 o'clock from somebody, please.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we move our council meeting to 3 p.m. on March 17th to avoid conflicts with the Fan Fest later on.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Anybody from the audience like to speak on that matter? Kathy, call the roll.
Carlisle.
Yes.
Ivy.
Yes.
Lawrence.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
Detman.
Yes. Item 10C, Race Gala, Janelle Marmon. Hi, Janelle, come on up.
For the record, Janelle Marmon, Executive Director of the Highland Art League. Thank you for entertaining our request. The race gala is the 18th of March, again, this year, the Wednesday of race week, and is the major fundraiser for the Highlands Art League, which allows us to have art classes for children and adults and events for the community throughout the year. So it is our major event, and we're asking for a variance from the city's open container ordinance and a waiver for the civic center fees.
Okay, what's your pleasure?
Sounds good to me.
The only thing I don't see on here, Ms. Marmon, is a time.
6 to 9 p.m.
6 p.m.
to 9 p.m.
to 9 p.m. Okay,
Was that a motion?
I make a motion, we approve the request as presented, condition on providing liability insurance showing the city is additional insured.
Second.
okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Anyone from the audience like to speak on this issue? Kathy, call the roll.
Carlisle.
Yes.
Ivy.
Yes.
Lawrence.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
Detman.
Yes. Thank you, Ms. Marmon. Looks like you got 5 thumbs up. Veterans Beach, seawall, and dock bids. Mr. Fields?
Good evening.
Yes, sir.
You have an agenda in front of you for the restoration of Veterans Park beach seawall and dock. The seawall work is phase 1 with an optional phase 2 for the dock section. What's council's pleasure?
Boy,
That was
that's a
short and
little-
sweet, wasn't it? So do we know Loren?
Bob schooled me this morning. He told me to just
Oh.
go right for the jugular.
Way to go, Bob.
So the low bid, you obviously have researched them to make sure that everything
Yeah,
is.
yes, we have references. Polson Engineering has reviewed it, and they seem like the lowest responsible bidder,
Okay.
so.
Is that close to what you had anticipated it was going to be?
It's actually a little cheaper than what I thought it was gonna be, to be quite honest with you. I thought we were looking at about 5 beans, really.
So our insurance, Scott, how much does that cover that? FEMA?
FEMA and insurance is 200,000. So we will bring back a recommendation at your next meeting on where to fund it from. But we've got 200,000 already allocated in general fund, roughly, to go towards this. And my suggestion probably is gonna be to bring it forward from the infrastructure fund balance, but I'll let our finance director make that recommendation at our next meeting, because she'll have to bring forward a budget amendment and resolution to do so.
Do we have a contract written up yet for the proposed company?
We don't have a contract written yet, but this will instruct the city attorney to do so.
To do that? Just want bond?
It
yeah.
does have there is
okay.
a performance bond in this
And payment.
Yeah.
and a payment bond.
And also, if possible, like a time element in there, you know, same year service kind of thing.
Well, they've been sitting there for 2 years, so they don't
I
have
know.
to quick, so.
That's a good thought, though. It really
Once
is.
it's
Just
done
a thought,
By the
yeah.
end of 2020. Yeah, that's a good idea. Maybe we can kind of nail that down a little bit, Ken.
What we typically do is work with the engineer to find out how long it really should take.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're not shorting them, but making
Okay.
sure that we're giving them, you know, a deadline.
Okay.
Need any more help, Ken? Just
I'm sorry?
So
check
either
if you need any more help.
Scott or Ken will contact the engineer and get a kind of a timeline.
Correct.
As to what would be most appropriate, time-wise. Okay.
We'll prepare a
Good.
contract, send it to them, get them to execute.
Okay.
Tell us a little more about the dock.
I was gonna say, is that a replacement of
Yeah.
that monstrosity?
So it would be a fixed dock with a floating dock to extend it out. Try and get the people out of the boat ramp, so that because that's one of the biggest problems is people park their boat, put the boat in, then they have to go, and so it creates a line.
How long would the dock be?
I think it's 100 and, Greg, do you know offhand by any chance? Yeah, about 100 feet.
That's the floating part of the entire dock?
That's just the floating part.
Okay. And how long is the fixed dock, like it is now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Long time coming.
Yeah. Here we have an impatient guy that lives down the street from
Yeah.
us.
No, it's good to see, it's good to see that we're getting to move ahead on this.
That's the last sketch that we had. I know at one time we had asked Polston to also include a little bit of the other, where the tree is at now. That's a grassy area, but that doesn't include anything over there, correct?
Yeah, they're gonna, as far as you mean taking it out for the exit portion?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, that's still there. That's in there.
Yeah, okay.
Well, that'll be in a second. That'll be covered in our next, are we talking about at the beginning of the parking lot when you're coming in?
Yeah, well, I mean, we had several sketches before as to how
Right.
it was gonna be done.
That'll be covered in the next agenda item somewhere, the parking lot itself.
Okay.
So, Cal Rancourt, or with Excavation Point, is gonna be doing that work.
Yeah.
So this is just the seawall and the dock itself.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to accept the bid from Loring Jock Trucking, Inc. for phase 1 and 2 for $326,550 as the lowest responsive bidder, and instruct the city attorney to prepare the necessary contract. Getting tongue-tied there.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and we have a second. Is there any questions, comments, concerns from the audience you'd like to bring forward to us? phases 1 and 2 for that amount. Kathy, call the roll.
Carlisle.
Yes.
Ivy.
Yes.
Lawrence.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
Detman.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Fields. Appreciate it.
Also before you is an agenda for the parking lot restoration for Veterans Beach. There are two prices reflected on the quote. One is to simply replace for $129,779.50, just to replace the area where the repair is going to take place in the new sidewalk.
Right.
For an additional $24,640, they will square the entire do the entire parking lot, which makes more sense because we're adding additional handicap on the opposite side, so it would blend in better if we did that. So,
And it would be an entirely new, call it what you want, new project.
yeah, and that total price is $154,419.50. And on the agenda item, we actually want to recommend the $154,419.50 as opposed to the $129. I think that would be better, and then we'll have one uniform parking lot without
That
the.
doesn't include the drive where everybody pulls in and
It
parks.
includes everything. It includes a new sidewalk curbing, the raised curb areas in the parking lot itself, and then the cutout to come, to go out.
Yeah, I'm talking about between the road and where everybody parks to go to the park.
It does not include that.
Not that portion, no.
So that, we'll call that the upper tier, if you will.
Okay.
The parking
So we're
area
just
right-
talking
Right
of-
in front of the park itself, where all the pavilions are. That's not gonna be overlaid. But everything else, what you consider the parking lot for the boat ramp, if you
Right.
will be overlaid for the 154.
Right. What's the shape of that drive?
It's in fairly good shape, so we could probably seal it and restripe it. I believe Tal had an additional $10,000 to do that, but I don't know that that's, I think we can look at that later on and see if we want to add it, because I don't believe it's in a bad condition, so it might be just as good to seal it and paint it. And
I
that's
don't think
about $2,000.
Yeah, I don't think the upper parking lot is as old as
Okay.
the rest of it, but we'll go out and verify that. And if we need to make a change order to Tal's contract at a later date, we'll bring that back to you for that upper section.
Yeah, well, the reason I was asking, it just seems like it's all been done about the same time. And, if it's in good shape, that's great. If it's, if we got to fix it in a year or two, maybe worth looking at and seeing what we could do at one time instead of it being a patch.
Mr. Ivy has a question?
Just, does this incorporate the new traffic flow for the boats coming in?
Well, we want to discuss that next. So at a prior meeting, I don't know, probably 2 years ago, we had a discussion about the traffic flow. And we had a proposed plan that would bring the traffic in, if you're looking at the water from the left, as opposed to how it comes in now at the right. And in the bringing traffic in on the left allows people to wrap around this way and back their boat straight in. If you bring the boat traffic in this way, they have to back their trailers in at an angle. We've spoken to several folks. I think our building official will speak to this too, with his knowledge, and they all indicate that you all need to change the traffic pattern. It's best to bring it in, wrap it around, and back the boats straight into the water.
Couldn't agree more.
I had a gentleman approach me unsolicited. He came up and asked that question and was complaining about how he had to back in at an angle, and his example was, what if I have to use that far boat ramp, and I've got to try and maneuver back there instead of being able to just go straight. And then he told me, a lot of times if there's nobody there, he goes in the opposite way anyway, so he can just goes straight back.
It's safer to come in the left, make it and go straight back, it's a lot safer.
Now, the design that was done reflected what you all approved a couple years ago, but I've spoken to Mr. Rancourt. Mr. Rancourt indicates that it's just a flip-flop, and that would not impact his price.
Isn't there parking along there also, though?
There
For
will
people
still
that
be
don't
parking.
have the boat? Sure.
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, just,
Yes,
and
and
they're
that will still
walking
be-
across that area. That's, I think, one of the big concerns we had when we were discussing this before, was that are people gonna be looking for traffic coming the opposite direction that they're used to as they walk from their parked car across that area? And I know, we all teach our kids to look both ways, but the fact of the matter is, people grow accustomed to not looking except where they expect cars to be coming from.
But it's a safer thing, Charlie, if the guy's coming into the left, somebody walks across, he can see them. If he has to back in at an angle, his view is very blindsided.
If it doesn't affect the real cost of this, I'd like to have some pictures again and discuss it again, because we did vote for it the other way before, after we all discussed it and had the actual diagrams of it.
I don't think it was 100% though.
It may not have been, but I do think that it was,
Yeah.
it passed as to the opposite way.
Right.
And I'm not saying that it shouldn't be that way, but I would at least like to discuss it again. And if we're gonna just change it, let's at least see what we're changing.
Mr. President.
I think it's appropriate as well.
We can bring it back.
That won't have an impact on the costs, though.
No.
Correct.
So why don't we vote on this, and then we'll figure that out at
Yeah,
the next
there's no-
meeting.
There's no reason we can't vote on this thing.
Yeah.
It's $154,419.50.
We have a question.
One other question.
Yes.
To make the new pattern work, do we have to disturb any of the area that we're getting ready to approve to do that?
No.
No.
No? Okay, that's fine.
No, and the design of the prior circulation, or the circulation that we're talking about,
Mhm.
was incorporated into that original design.
I'm fine then.
So it would fit either way.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yep. Okay, do we have anybody like to make a motion on this
I
one?
make a motion that we accept the quote from Excavation Point in the amount of $154,419.50 and instruct the city attorney to prepare the necessary contract.
Second.
Okay. Looks like we have a motion and a second. Anybody from the audience like to have any questions, comments, or concerns on this topic? Kathy, call the roll.
Carlisle.
Yes.
Ivy.
Yes.
Lawrence.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
Bettman.
Yes. Item 12A is City Attorney's business, a proposed ordinance amending Section 23-1 of the Code of Ordinances, first reading. Mr. Bob Swain.
Yes, sir, the proposed ordinance is entitled, an ordinance amending section 23-1 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Sebring, deleting the requirement for annexation or recorded irrevocable annexation request as a condition proceeding to providing wastewater collection and treatment service, providing for severability, providing for conflict, and providing for an effective date.
Any questions? Any comments? Anyone from the audience like to speak on this issue? Okay, we have a requested motion here. If somebody would like to take up the,
I make a motion that we approve of the ordinance on first reading and schedule a second and final reading for February 18th, 2020.
I'll second that.
what are those?
I'm just kind of
I just want to make sure.
getting other people involved here.
No, you wimped out.
Yeah.
What a friendly group we have here, Mr. Mayor. All right, so we do have a motion on the floor, and we do have a second to that motion. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to this issue? This is the first reading. Kathy, call the roll.
Carlisle.
Yes.
Ivy.
Yes.
Lawrence.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
Bettman.
Yes. Item 12B. Once again, Mr. Bob Swain, this is the agreement regarding the escrows pending resolution of a lawsuit.
Yes, sir. Two mobile home park owners and one mobile homeowner in one of those parks have brought a suit against the city challenging the annexation requirement for new end users of the utility system. And this agreement provides that they would sign the declaration of covenants, and those would be held in escrow pending the resolution of the lawsuit. I'd recommend the agreement for your approval.
Yeah. I'll make a motion, we approve the agreement as presented.
Yeah, a second.
We have a motion and a second. Anyone else from the audience like to talk with us about this? Kathy, call the roll.
Carlisle.
Yes.
Ivy.
Yes.
Lawrence.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
Bettman.
Yes. Item 12C, proposed ordinance modifying the size of boathouses and docks. Once again, a first reading, and Mr. Swain
The
again.
proposed ordinance is entitled, an ordinance amending Article 2 of Chapter 25 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Sebring to require that the sizes of boathouses and docks comply with Florida Department of Environmental Protection regulations, providing for severability, providing for conflict, and providing for an effective date. In addition to requiring that they essentially follow the state rules on that, we are making clarification on printed page 3 that seawalls are required to have permits.
Yes, they added in boathouse or seawall. Dock,
Yes, sir.
boathouse, or seawall.
Are seawalls now not required a permit?
They are in the county, for sure.
I know they are.
I didn't know they weren't in the city.
Yeah, it just never was stated.
I'm saying, what's that?
It has been a matter of interpretation.
Ah.
We want it to be
So we're fixing that.
crystalline.
Okay,
Okay.
that's good.
Yeah,
We have more seawalls than permits.
I make a motion, we approve first reading of the ordinance modifying the size of boathouses and docks as presented, and schedule the second final reading, and this would include seawalls.
a second.
Okay, so we have a motion, and we have a second. Anyone else would like to speak to us about boathouses, docks, seawalls, or anything like this is a first reading? Seeing no one coming up. Mrs. Taylor.
Carlisle.
Yes.
Ivy.
Yes.
Lawrence.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
Bettman.
Yes. Item 13A is under City Administrator's Business, a letter opposing sovereign immunity increase. Senate Bill 1302. Mr. Nately, please.
Council, if you wouldn't mind, I'd like to digress a moment and just point out that our interim building official has passed the necessary exams to become a building official and has been recognized by the state as a building official, and the necessary requisite PAF has been processed.
Congratulations.
Good job.
Very good.
Does he get a little bit of a raise?
Now we have to pay him more, I guess, right?
I don't think he was listening.
Budget
to
process
that.
starts at the end of the year. Good job, Mr. Griffin.
Agenda item summary 13A, letter opposing sovereign immunity increase. The city's insurer, Public Risk Management, has recommended that we write or send a letter to the state representatives opposing the legislation on increasing sovereign immunity.
And that's gonna be increased from what?
So,
Would you explain that in layman's terms, please?
You want to explain it?
The liability is increasing.
you can only sue the state or municipalities for contract claims or tort claims up to a maximum amount. And for many years, that amount was $100,000 per person, $200,000 per incident, like a car wreck and you had 3 or 4 passengers. That was those were the limits up until 2010. In 10, they raised them to 200, 300, and now they're looking to raise it to a flat 500, regardless of the number of people. You get at least 500, and then it should escalate each year based on just the cost of living. So this is a bad thing for municipalities, especially those like the city that are self-insured. What I think is happening, because claims in excess of those capped amounts have to be pursued through the legislature, and they bring the bill. So I think the legislature's probably just tired of dealing with these and would like to push it back onto the municipalities, and not just simply deny the claims, but up the insurance amount in the hopes, I guess, that maybe more of them get paid. So this is not a good proposal for municipalities. At least as of today, there did not appear to be a companion bill for this, so this process is not likely that it will become law, but things like this often will resurface next year, the year after, and perhaps gain traction, so you want to get in front of it.
I make a motion to instruct staff to prepare a letter for the mayor's signature opposing legislation. See, you get the vote.
I'll second that.
We have a motion on that, and we have a second on Mr. Stewart.
And before
Any
we-
comments, questions, or concerns from the audience?
Yeah, I have one comment though.
Yes, sir.
I just want to say that that's basically doubling in one case and more than doubling in
That's
another.
right.
Mhm.
That's a heck of an increase.
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, if they were doing little increases, maybe we could handle that, but
Right.
that's just a huge increase. That's my comment.
Okay, anybody have any comments about that? Kathy, call the roll.
Carlisle.
Yes.
Ivy.
Yes.
Lawrence.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
Detman.
Yes. Final housekeeping item here will be the payment of the bills.
Could you-
Haley?
I'm sorry, I'm gonna interrupt again.
Yes, go right ahead, digressing.
Councilman Ivy would like to address council in reference to a couple other House bills, Senate bills, actually 3 to be specific, and the potential for us to write similar letters opposing that legislation.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ivy.
I have actually 3 of them, and this is from the Florida League of Cities, which is opposing these particular bills. Senate Bill 1174, Senate Innovation, Industry and Technology Committee, but it's designed to reduce the local CST rate, which is a communication service tax, reduce it to 5% or less by January 1st, 2021, and 4% or less by January 1st, 2022. Reduce the state CST rate from 492, and this is the state, so tough for them. And reduce local revenues annually by about $190 million statewide. Again, this is attack probably on our rights, the cities. Again, from the state, just like on unmandated or mandated expenses without providing any money. The next one is the urge the House Subcommittee to oppose the short-term rental preemption. It's to preempt to the state the regulation of vacation rentals, not from the city. Take it away from the cities. Undo local ordinances adopted since 2014. Preempt to the state licensure and inspections of the rentals. Any ordinance, noise, parking, trash, etc., must apply to all residential properties regardless of how the property is being used. And local governments cannot prohibit rentals, not just STRs, impose occupancy limits on rentals, or require inspections of licensing rentals. Somebody that has a lot of rentals must have come up with this.
That would be Airbnbs as well, right?
Yeah.
Vacation.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the state's trying to take control of that is what I'm
And
gathering.
I have the further detail, in these things. And then we have the Burt Harris Property Rights Act. The bill significantly amends that Property Rights Act, excuse me, and substantially handicaps local government's ability to resolve these claims. The bill requires any settlement reached on the Harris claim that involves the issue of a variance or exception to a regulation on a residential property be automatically applied by the government entity to all similarly situated residential properties that are subject to the same rules and regulations. So if you do it for one, you have to do it
City.
automatically. The bill fails to take into account notice of provisions, hearings, or even impacts on the neighboring property owners when given an across-the-board variance. And it goes on. The bill limits the time frame for government entities to respond to Harris claims from 150 days to 90 days, and increases the likelihood of paying the property owner's attorney's fees. Under the current law, a jury can award damages from the Harris claim based on the loss of property value and cannot consider any business damages relative to an activity or use of government as restricted or prohibited. The bill would now allow for the compensation of business damages in addition to the loss of property. So another expensive, and again, home rule is threatened
Right.
again by the
That's right.
state. So,
So we want the mayor to write 4 letters.
Yeah. I would make a motion that we extend that letter to include all the ones that Mr. Ivy has brought up.
With your permission, would add
Oh, you
in
did?
companion House bills to each of those. Now, those appear to be further down the track and more likely of being passed than the first one, the sovereign immunity cap.
What did you say to add to that? Did you say
The
something?
companion bills
Is that what you said to add to this?
to the letter. So they're opposing both the Senate version and the House version of each.
Yeah, I
And on a
think-
quick glance, they appear to be very similar, which tells you they have a better chance of passing than if they're wildly different.
Okay.
I think we've got to, just like everyone, we better be more aggressive
Yeah.
toward these things. So
I'm with
they
you
sneak
there.
up on you if you don't follow them. That's
Thank you for sharing that
That
with
was
us,
good-
Mr. Ivy.
good stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very good. Anybody else? I think we need to pay the bills, folks.
Well, we
I
had
didn't have a
motion on the
second on
floor.
that
We have a
Hang
motion
on,
on,
well,
motion on the floor, we don't have a second.
oh, on the, to have the
Yeah.
mayor.
I made a motion that we would include all 4 of these items.
I made the motion, but I'll add to that.
Okay, you can have
Two
that.
motions, 2 seconds.
All right, so who made the motion?
I did.
All right, you made
Well,
the
we
motion.
voted on that
Well,
motion already.
Yeah, we've already voted on that
Oh,
one, so
did
you're
we? Oh,
seconding
okay.
this,
Oh,
his
okay.
motion.
I'll
To
second
add-
his.
To do the 3 letters,
I'll
cause
And
that's.
you're gonna add the
what
3
we're gonna
letters
do.
on the second,
Exactly.
separate motion.
Yeah.
Don't
So
try to
that's a
confuse the
separate
clerk.
motion, so
Correct.
make sure
I
we're
always
okay on
want to
this.
confuse the
Okay,
clerk.
good.
2 motions, 1 letter.
And you're seconding it.
Yes.
Okay?
Got it.
Kathy, any comments from the audience? Kathy, call the roll.
Carlisle.
Yes.
Ivy.
yes.
Lorenz.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
Detman.
Yes. Let's pay the bills.
And Mr. Ivy gave me these things, so I will copy them and put them in y'all's basket.
Thank
just so
you.
your box.
So
I think we actually got them in our packets.
Oh,
Pretty sure we did.
So moved on the bill paying.
Okay, we got a motion to pay the bills. We have a second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to pay the bills. Anybody have any questions on the bills? Kathy, call the roll.
Carlisle.
Yes.
Ivy.
Yes.
Lorenz.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
Detman.
Yes. Thank y'all for being here this evening. Adjourned.